Welcome to Papa's Workshop. Today I'm making a face shield. Mine broke that I use all the time in the shop, and I need to make another one. This is really not for the coronavirus. I'm not saying that this is going to do any type of protection for the coronavirus, but I am going to put a link to the plans so that you can download them and carve these on your XCarve yourself. They'll be located in a link below, but for now, I want to show you how I made this face shield and the headband that goes with it. So let's get started. Over the past few days, I've been looking online to see what type of face shields that I could make. And what I was looking for is a face shield that I could cut on the XCarve out of some thin plastic. And I also wanted to be able to locate a DXF file. And after doing quite a bit of research, I found a couple that I think would work, and I brought them into Easel. There in Easel, I did quite a bit of work with them to get them adjusted so that I could carve. And today I'm going to give that a try. Now the two files that I settled on was this one with just the headbands. The nice thing about this, these little tabs will allow the face shield just to slip on and hold it in place by having holes in the face shield itself. These little tabs here are really designed so that the ends can just slip in and hold it in place. So this one doesn't require any type of tabs at all. These little tips here are designed to slip into these slots to be able to hold it in place. So I wanted to be able to try this one. Now the nice thing about this was a file that I found online, and quite frankly I don't remember where, but it was a free download and it was a DXF file. And what I was able to do is just come over and click on this, and I can just import using this setting right here, DXF Import 2.0. And it actually brought the file into Easel. The other file that I have was actually a larger file, and this had the face shield itself. And the nice thing about this one, it's actually two face shields. I'm going to slide this over a little bit for you. And each of them have 3 bands. So these 3 bands will go with this face shield, and these 3 bands will go to this one. The only problem that I don't like about this one requires some type of a snap or a clasp to be able to hold it together. That's something I don't have, but I still want to be able to see if I can carve this. Now this particular file was originally designed to be able to cut on the laser. Now I did eliminate the tabs, because it did have tabs scattered throughout this whole thing because of the different pieces, and I've eliminated all of the tabs. So I'm going to be using the glue and tape method to be able to carve this. Now one of the things I'd like to be able to do is just experiment with just cutting out one mask. So what I did is just highlight it, and I'm going to open this up a little bit bigger. I highlighted this first one and pulled it out of the way. And you can see that this line right here is actually joining the same one. Alright, with that selected, now, and the endpoints are actually right here, I can grab hold of this and slide it right up to this other node. And then I'm going to do the same thing down here. I'm going to grab it and bring it right down to this point. Now it's connected. Now this one up top did not connect. So I'm going to slide it up a little bit more so that it connects. And I'm going to zoom in even more and take a look at it. And I want to highlight both of these. And now I can see both of them, and it looks like it's joined together perfectly. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, and I'm going to highlight both of these again, and it looks like it's perfectly joined. So that's one of the things that had to be done to be able to modify this to be able to carve. With that now joined, it should allow me to carve one of these instead of both. Let me zoom back out. Now this one over here, I don't want to lose it, but I'm going to go ahead and put this one out of the way. I'm going to slide it right up here. And then the next thing I'm going to do is select a box. We've done this before. I'm going to make this box large enough to be able to cover the whole entire area that I do not want carved. And then I'm going to change it to a 0 cut setting. And with that at a 0 cut setting, I now cannot see it over here. So what I want to do is just go ahead and generate the preview. And let's set this up where we can actually see everything. And there is the one. If I do simulate, what's it going to carve? It is going to carve just the one. So that looks like it's going to carve just fine. So now I can go ahead and carve this. Now I have my auxiliary wasteboard put in position. I'm using a tape measure as a reference to what's on the screen. And I went ahead and laid out all of the tape lines. Now the nice thing about this, I can come over and drop this right in place. And then put the tape right where it needs to be. Just like that. And that helps to get the alignment where the tape's exactly positioned correctly. Now then, the next thing I'm going to do is just flip this over, add the glue to it, and then that will drop in place right there. These little tabs of the extra tape I'm going to leave because it actually helps. It makes it a little bit easier to be able to remove from the machine once it's done. So I'm going to go ahead and set this now right here. Add the glue to it. And the glue that I'm using is the Starbond glue. This is the thin. And I'm going to go ahead and put that on now. Now I could have used a medium thick glue. That would probably have worked better. But I don't have any that's open right now. So I'm just going to go ahead and use this. Now I'm going to go ahead and flip this over and put it right in place. And I'll hold that down for just a moment. And we're ready to go. Now the bit that I'm going to be using is a 1/32 upcut bit. And the reason I want to use the upcut bit is so that it takes the chips and pulls it up and out. You do not want to use a downcut bit anytime that you're cutting the plastic. Now I did remove the laser mount and I took it off of the router, and it just makes it so that you can see the operation easier. I did not need to do that, and if I wasn't filming this, I would have left this mount onto the router. You can clearly see that the acrylic is actually melting, so I'm going to stop this carve now. And one of the things that you can see is there's a lot of plastic on here. That is melting, and I don't want that. So I've got to speed this up to be able to make it work. Now I went ahead and changed a bit. I put a brand new bit in it, and I'll work on cleaning this bit in just a few minutes. But I went ahead and changed the setting to 60 inches per minute to start with, and I'm going to see if that will carve it better, because I need the chips flying. I don't need the chips melting. Now remember, this first pass is just carving air because it already had done it. Now it did clean up a little bit because of the melting. As I started the second pass, the bit broke immediately. So again, I had to stop the carve immediately and realize that a 32nd inch bit at 60 inches a minute was not going to do it, because as soon as it started that second pass, that bit broke. The good thing is it was not melting. Well, I decided to go ahead and change the bit. I put in a 1/16 of an inch upcut bit, and we're going to give that a try. I changed the settings in the computer so the line width is actually wider, but I still think it's going to carve fine. Everything looks great on the preview, so I'm going to go ahead and try carving it now. And third time's the charm. This is carving really good, and it's carving where it's not melting at all, and that was the goal. And this is the second pass as it starts, and again it's looking real good, and you're not seeing any buildup of the plastic on the bit itself. That's what you want to be able to see, and you want to see those chips flying and not melted plastic or acrylic. So I finally have success using the 16th upcut bit. Now to be able to do this carve, I'm doing this at 40 inches per minute on the feed rate, and I want to increase this a little bit more, and I'm going to take this to 48 inches per minute. And at the 48 inches per minute, it's still carving extremely well, and I'm going to let it go ahead and finish this job. I'm not going to increase it any further. Looking at this bit after it finished the carving, there is no melting at all. This turned out just exactly what I wanted to be able to do. Now I decided to do a finishing pass at 60 inches a minute, and I went full depth, one pass, to be able to do that, and that actually polished up the edges and cleaned it very well. And don't forget, when you do a finishing pass like this at full depth, you have to go into the cut settings and adjust it so that it also reflects the full depth. And I'm doing this at 0.095. Now it's time to go ahead and remove the acrylic from the wasteboard, and you can see just how well that the tape and glue method works. And these pieces are coming out perfect. I mean, I wish you could see up close in the camera just how nice these are looking. Now, because of the thickness of this material at 0.08 of an inch, it really does not bend the way it needs to. So I am going to have to build a little small jig and be able to heat this material so that it forms the shape that I need to create the face shield and the headband. To create this mold, I just went out to the scrap bin and found some MDF that I had left over from another project. The basic idea of this is I want to be able to create a 4-inch radius for the basic part of this mold. Now that I have the compass set for the 4-inch radius, I went ahead and just measured down from the top of my board, and I put a line with the square, because that's where I actually want to have it, because I don't want to have this where it's just strictly a half circle and nothing else to be able to work with. So I'm going to go ahead and create 2 circles here, and this is going to be my 2 ends that I need to be able to form this mold. Now that I have it drawn, I'm just going to take it over to the bandsaw, cut it out, and just sand off and smooth the edges, and then I start the assembly. Now to assemble this mold, I'm using the Starbond thick glue. Now these strips were 1 inch wide, they were 14 inches long. I'm just putting the glue at each end on it and then just putting them onto my 1/2" MDF. Now this will take just a moment to be able to dry, but to be able to hold it in place. Now I'm using a small 1" 16 gauge nail to be able to hold that in place. Now this design is not an ideal mold, but it's something I just threw it together real quick to be able to get the basic shape for this face shield. Now I'm not measuring anything, I'm just using a pencil for the spacers. There's no tape measures, nothing is fancy about this at all. And again, this is not an ideal type mold because it does have the rough edges. And if I was going to do this on a permanent basis, I would make this surface completely smooth and round, which would make it where the mask would be able to be smoother and more uniform shaped. But again, in the end, this is going to work. Now this is the glue that I'm using, the Star Bond Thick, to be able to hold this together. And this does allow me to put this little mold together very quickly. Now as far as putting the acrylic onto the mold, I marked the center point with just a little bit of white marker, and I'm just going to set that onto the center and use a little bit of the painter's tape to hold it in place. And as far as the 3 pieces that make up the headband, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to place them onto the end and tape them in place as well. So all I'm doing is just positioning these approximately in the center. Again, I am not really measuring anything here, but I don't want them to fall off. So I'm just taking the masking tape and I'm going to just stick all 3 down with 1 piece, and then it will be ready to go into the oven. Now as far as the oven, I'm using the oven at about 320 degrees, and I'm going to leave them in the oven for about 2 minutes. And this is strictly an experiment. This may or may not work. Now the oven is already hot because I had just pulled bread out of the oven that I had baked. So all I'm going to do is set the timer for the 2 minutes, and I've adjusted the temperature to 320 degrees. With everything set, I'm just going to go ahead and slip this into the oven, and then I'm going to wait 2 minutes and pull it right back out. Again, this timing is not exact. I really don't know what setting should it be on, so this is strictly an experiment. If you do this at home, this may work, or you may have to adjust the times. Now that the 2 minutes are up, I'm going to pull this out of the oven, and I have some leather gloves on because it is hot, and I'm using 2 pieces of boards to help form this into the shape. Now what I learned real quickly is that this plastic or this acrylic cools down very, very quickly. So in a perfect world, I would have gone back and reheated this again and do this until I got the shape exactly the way I wanted. But for now, this is where I'm going to stop. I only did this the 1 time. So my best guess is that I think the temperature is good, but I think I would let this stay in the oven a little bit longer than the 2 minutes. Or reheat this and repeat the same process until I get the shape perfect. But I think you get the idea, and that's the purpose for this video. Now this acrylic cools very, very quickly. So even though that I'm keeping the leather gloves on right now, it's actually cool enough to be able to touch. But again, you want to be real careful because the last thing that you want to happen is to get burned. And I did test it 1 more time, but these pieces have already cooled. So again, I think the 2 minutes is a good starting point, but that time certainly is going to have to be adjusted. So now I have the face shield with the correct curvature that I was looking for, and I have my headband. So all I need now is some type of clips to put it together. Hi everyone, thank you for watching my video today. If you like the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below and the little bell next to it so you'll be notified on the different videos that I upload. Also, check out the videos over here to be able to stay up to date on the happenings in my shop. So again, thank you for watching my videos.